Greetings and salutations, fellow Earthlings. We're waking up in the Czech Republic, and it is gorgeous. Gorgeous. Let me just show you. Look at, just look at this. Oh, they just turned the lights off down there. Okay, look down here at the Grand Hotel. Hoop. Look at that. You see up how the fog is just up in the trees. And these beautiful pastel. See, that's not us Americans being loud. The locals are loud too, from time to time. Well, I'm sorry that they just turned off. Ooh, that's really close. I'm sorry they just turned off the trees down there. But this is gorgeous. We're getting ready to go have breakfast before we head out and head to Prague. But I just wanted to come out here for a minute and I think sometimes when you're on a trip, especially with a group travel, you get to see so many things in such a short amount of time that you're just kind of go. And so you have to stop and just take it in and realize where you're at and what you've been able to do. And it just kind of makes it that much more special. It is about 7:30 in the morning, and I can't wait to get to Prague, but I hate to leave this sweet little Karlovy. We really like it here. We really like it here. Okay, well, I'll try to get a few more little clips as we're walking to breakfast, but this is like, and being here at Christmas time, I don't know that I'd want to come here any other time. I mean, this is the best time to come here if you're going to come to visit, I think, because it's just beautiful. Even more beautiful with the lights. Okay, let's go to breakfast. So we just got done having breakfast, and we had to lug all of our suitcases, so I wasn't able to get a lot of the walk to breakfast, but I get a little bit before we get on. Here's our bus. We have about a 2-hour drive to get to Prague, and we're really excited to see the countryside on the way and to see Prague and all of its beautifulness. But golly, I'm so ready to be here. I love it.
Is that just down the street you will see the old building that is the National Theatre, built in the middle of the 1800s. You will always recognize it from a distance by the golden roof and the pattern of the rooftop. It looks like a Louis Vuitton handbag, so that's how you can always recognize it.
It does.
I'm not joking.
He knows
So
what he's talking about.
you can see the Christmas decorated tram getting into the spirit. Now, in case you'd like to visit a microbrewery, here you can see the church. Right behind the church, there's a kind of dark, now hidden by the truck. There's a sign sticking out from the wall. There's a brewery. They have food and they have excellent beer that is brewed in a complex that belongs to a monastery. The monastery owns the complex, and there's a brewery in it, so it's kind of funny.
That's pretty cool.
Yep. And this street here, it's one of the busiest streets in Prague. It's called Národní třída, which is National Street. And it also is kind of important because it is the border between the new town and the old town. When I speak about the new town, don't be confused by the name. The new town was established in 1348, okay? Whereas the old town, it started to be built up sometime in the 1200s. The history of Prague goes back about 1,000 years. So that's when the people started to settle here at the river. There have been fords here, merchants traveling, because those times there were no bridges. So there were fords, so people were crossing through here where it was safe and easy to cross the river. Then throughout time, people started to settle at the fords, and Prague consisted of 4 independent towns: Old Town, the Little Quarter, Castle District, and the New Town. There was another town, a specific town, that was the former Jewish ghetto. It's in the Old Town, so that was also kind of independent. These towns were fortified, protected. They had their own town halls. They had their own laws, and it was in the late 1700s that these towns were united. And as of then, Prague can be considered as one united city. Until then, it was just a cluster of 4 independent towns. And a date, it's November 17, 1989. And this monument, it is, careful you drop something. It's commemorating the very dramatic events of November 17, 1989, which was the year of the so-called Velvet Revolution. November 17 is the so-called International Students' Day, and the end of the 80s, 88, 89, those were years when there were more and more protests of the people against the communist regime. It was also a time when Mikhail Gorbachev was the leader of the Soviet Union. Mikhail Gorbachev was a communist, but he had passed a message that he was realizing that the economical system of the communist countries is unsustainable. And he basically admitted that if the countries decide to make some economical changes in the society, that the Soviet Union won't interfere. And this was another kind of motivation for the people to stand up and express their disagreement with the communist regime. In 1989, I was in the 3rd year of university. I was a student, and the student organizations requested permission for a gathering on the occasion of the International Students' Day. The events, or why is it an International Students' Day? Very briefly, in 1939, when Czechoslovakia was taken over by the Nazis, the students had organized a protest against the Nazis. This protest was crushed by the Nazis. Many of the students taking part in the demonstration were arrested. Many of them sent to the concentration camps, and there were several that were executed. So this is commemoration of the victims here in Czechoslovakia in 1939, the victims, student victims of the Nazis. If we skip in time further, 1989, the students wanted to commemorate these events, but it was also a time that a lot of protests were against the communist regime. My friends and I from school, we decided to go to the gathering. We kind of were expecting that it will turn into a anti-governmental protest. So at the beginning of the gathering, the speakers on stage, they were speaking about the legacy of the students, and with every next speaker, the topic started to kind of change and twist towards criticism of the communist regime. So it turned into an anti-governmental protest, basically. And I remember that in the crowd of thousands of students, there was something like 11,000 of students at the gathering, so a huge crowd. There have been men, I realized this later, men in civilian clothes, and after the official part of the gathering, these men started to yell into the crowd, let's go to the city center. Let's go to the city center. So they actually managed to manipulate the chaotic crowd of students, and there were more and more people joining the students in the march from the campus, university campus. The march was along the embankment, making a turn at the National Theatre and coming down this street all the way to the intersection over there. The riot police was prepared there, and they did not allow the students to continue to the bottom of the Wenceslas Square, which is considered as the city center, and also it was a place for celebrations, but also for demonstrations. Demonstrations during the communist times, that was strictly forbidden. The police would always attack. Like in this case, they prevented the students to continue. What happens later is that they give orders that the students clear the intersection, and their argument was that you're violating the law because you're blocking traffic. Now imagine you want to start a revolution, but the problem is you're blocking the traffic. So the police starts to attack the demonstrators and starts to beat them, causing chaos. And even people that decided to leave the space, they had no chance to leave because this street was completely crowded from here all the way to the National Theatre. So even those people who wanted to escape, they had no chance. And so they found themselves in a trap. And before this was, this used to be a passageway. So the police was forcing the demonstrators. The only way how to leave was through this passageway. And the police, there were 2 rows of policemen, and so you would be able to pass between the policemen and they would be hitting you. So a lot of people were injured. And why was it happening in the passageway? Because there were no cameras. They were hidden. So they got away with beating a lot of the demonstrators. So it was a very dramatic moment, and we're speaking about the Velvet Revolution. That no one. Why Velvet? It's not linked to Velvet Underground or nothing like that. It's linked to the fact that nobody was killed in the protests, which was not the same case like in Romania during these events, that there have been a number of victims. They were shot at by the secret communist police. The demonstrators were shot at and killed. So if you visit Bucharest until today, in some of the main intersections, you will see crosses commemorating the victims. So there it was brutal. Here in Prague, we speak about these events as the Velvet Revolution. And basically, just to shorten this dramatic time, is that when it transpired on the news that the students were attacked by the police, the student organizations, they decide to organize a strike of schools and universities on the upcoming Monday. So the events I was describing, it happened on a Friday, November 17, Saturday, Sunday. You also have to realize this was 1989, so no internet, no smartphones. The only source of information was through the media that had been censored by the propaganda. So it was a very dramatic time. Yeah, but yes.
So this is the same year that the Berlin Wall went down, right?
It happened, these events were happening pretty much at the same time. Okay. Berlin Wall, November 9, the events I'm describing, it was in November 17, to be exact, 1989. Yeah? If we continue a little bit further, in the window here on the right, you will see some authentic pictures from the events happening. And just to finish, the students declare a strike on Monday, on the upcoming Monday. And I found out that a friend of mine from school calls me on Sunday evening and says, do you know that tomorrow there's no school? And I thought he was joking. I could not believe that there's a strike of students on Monday. And I told him, I don't know about this, I doubt it, but if it's true, it's great, because I'm due to hand in my English paper and I again don't have it. And he tells me, forget about the paper. Well, to be exact, he used a different F word. Forget about the paper. Let's go to school tomorrow and you'll see. And so we approached the school building the next day in the morning, and there was a huge sign, banner saying Stavka. In Czech it means strike. So only then I started believing, and it was also a very important moment for things to start rolling, because it was at first the students, but then employees or workers at the factories, employees of different offices, but also the police and the army started joining this strike of students. And these events happening here, November 17, they actually triggered off events resulting into democratic elections and the toppling of the communist regime. So I just wanted to explain, it was not very brief, but what does this mean? And so for me, remembering these times, it still is very emotional. But let's continue to see more of beautiful Prague. We were walking through Potsdamer Platz. I was pointing out the tower with the very first traffic light in Germany. And here we also can see the very first historical traffic light here in Prague. It's a little bit difficult to find, but if you look at the gate that people are walking through, notice that on the left-hand side towards the top, there's an owl sitting on a stick. That is the traffic light.
Oh, geez.
And this is in the times when there were horse-driven carriages, and there was a courtyard inside, and when it was full, they would turn the bird upside down, meaning that it's full. So now when it's sitting upright, it means you can drive in with your horse and carriage. So that is the historical very first traffic light. And let's just make a few steps in this direction. I just briefly wanted to show you another piece of art. So I brought you here to show you another piece of art created by David Černý. This is probably the least controversial piece of art he had ever created. It's pretty much not offending anyone, which is kind of boring. But those who are familiar with Franz Kafka, anyone?
Yes.
I see nodding heads. Franz Kafka, German writing Jewish author who was born here in Prague and lived here for many years. So this is the head of Franz Kafka. And the head at a certain time, I think it's on the hour, it will start to rotate. It consists of different layers of stainless steel. So it will start rotating to the left, to the right, then it will turn completely around 180 on the hour, every hour on the hour. And then at a certain moment, the layers get distorted. They start turning into different directions. So the head gets distorted. And David Cheny, he never explains what his art is to resemble. He leaves it up to the imagination of the people. And so my interpretation, and not only mine, is that Franz Kafka, who has ever read anything by Franz Kafka, knows that Metamorphosis, for example, it starts like a ordinary story. One day he wakes up as a cockroach, right? And he has a problem. How the hell am I going to go to the office, make money, and if I look like a cockroach? So very bizarre. And it reflects also the personality of Kafka. He was writing in German, but he had many Czech friends. He was Jewish, but he would go to the temple maybe once or twice a year. Yet his father, a very hard-working businessman, time is money. The two did not have a very good relationship. Franz Kafka, he had an obsession when he was eating. He would chew every bite 60 times before swallowing it, okay? It was an obsession and must have been driving the father absolutely crazy. Time is money, come on. And Kafka is, chewing, and so, but he even sent a letter to his father, a several-page letter. He was writing for a number of years. Later it was published, but it was very clear that they did not have a good relationship. So this is probably the artist wanted to show that at a certain moment Kafka is focused, he worked in an office, but then he would be writing these very bizarre stories and he had obviously a problem with his identity. Where do I belong to? Am I more Czech? Am I German? Am I still Jewish? So that is reflected by the layers getting distorted. So just wanted to explain a little bit about what we can see. So it's one of the kind of also attractions and sights you can see here in Prague. Let's continue further. Now we're in the Old Town district here. It's called Knights Street. It's straight, wide, and it's called Knight Street because there used to be horse tournaments of knights, jousting taking place here. That's how it got its name. The building just over there with the red roof, that is the Estates Theater, built in the second half or in the middle of the 1700s. It's the oldest still standing theater here in Prague. It's still being used as a theater. And in 1787, Mozart had his world premiere of the famous Don Giovanni opera here in this theater. So Mozart visited Prague 3 times, and he was very much appreciated. His music was very much appreciated by the local audience. Actually, it was more appreciated than back home in Austria. We will now continue. I will show you the oldest market. So let's continue further. The members of the town council or the rich merchants would buy their houses. We can see also the beautiful teen church, beautiful Gothic structure. It's open to the public. It can be visited. You might be wondering how to get inside, there's an entrance here in the building in front. In between the restaurant there's a passageway, so if you want to go have a look, you just walk through the passageway until you reach the entrance. And again, the entrance is free of charge. You can go have a look. There's another church over there, the St. Nicholas Church. Also they have concerts there. This structure here, this is the Old Town Hall, and the tower, yes, it can be visited. You can buy a ticket in the ticket office on the right, and you can go up to the top and enjoy the amazing view. So it's possible to.
Do they have an elevator? People were asking.
There is
There is an
elevator.
I was not asking.
There's a elevator, and I think you have to pay an extra fee to be able to use the elevator all the way up. But yes, it's up to you if you want to check it out. What I also need to mention is the astronomical clock. Someone was asking about the astronomical clock. So it is placed here on the town hall. So if we kind of stick together, I can explain some of the functions of it. Otherwise, this is the market. There's behind in that end there will be a stage. There's always a stage with live music. The Christmas tree is behind the column of Virgin Mary, always very beautifully lit and decorated. So you can spend a lot of time exploring here the stalls. And what I wanted to suggest, if you agree, that we'll have a look at the astronomical clock, and we can then continue towards the Charles Bridge. We can cross the Charles Bridge and there have something to warm up, a drink, or to sit down. Again, if you agree, I don't want to force anyone, but that you're aware of the markets where they are. Also, when we'll be crossing the Charles Bridge, usually there is also a market just in the middle of the bridge, under the bridge on an island, and it's one of the nicest actually markets. It's less crowded. This one is beautiful, it's beautifully decorated, but the amount of people that come here, everyone comes here, same like we do, so yeah. So are we okay to slowly continue towards the bridge? It is one of the highlights as well, but you can come back either today, later today, or tomorrow in the morning and afternoon. You will have free time, yeah? So we can slowly continue this way. So we're standing in front of the astronomical clock, and what's so special? Why are all these people standing here for? The astronomical clock, this one, it is the oldest still functional astronomical clock in the world. It was constructed in 1410. So it's the high tech of the beginning of the 1400s. The clock shows a number of features. It shows 3 different times. If you want to read the time, you have to look at the golden hand. You also have to read the Roman numerals. Also in summertime you have to realize they were not using the summer daylight savings time. You can also see the position of the sun towards the earth, being the globe in the middle. You can also see the position of the moon and the phase of the moon. It's the half silver ball on one of the arms. If you're still wondering Okay, but what the hell? Tell me the time. What is what the hell is the time? Just look over there on the clock. Yeah. So the whole thing turns and moves. Also, we can see the bottom dial. You will see a gray outer ring. If you look carefully, you will notice that the gray ring is broken down into 365 segments. In each segment, there's a name of a saint that is celebrated on a specific day of the year. The ring slowly turns by one segment every day. There's a golden pointer at the top of the that is static, that doesn't move, so just the ring moves. So on November 11 it's St. Martin's Day. My name is Martin, so it's my name day, so it's an excuse to invite friends for more drinks than usual. And so every day it indicates what saint is to be celebrated. We can also see the round large pictures. They also symbolize the months of the year, and the pictures show the typical activities of peasants for that specific month of the year. The whole thing, the disc moves, so every month, at the end of every month, the pointer starts pointing at the next picture. You can see also the zodiac signs in the very middle. You can see the three towers with a gate. That is the symbol of Prague. Okay, the clock chimes on the hour every hour. During the chiming, the statues at the top, they will start moving. The statues you see from left to right, the far left, there's a man holding a mirror. It symbolizes the vices, so it's vanity. Next to him, there's a man holding a bag of money, symbolizing greed. Then we see the skeleton. The skeleton symbolizes death. Okay? In one hand, it has a bell. When someone dies, the skeleton rings a bell, the death bell. And in the other hand, it holds a sand clock. It shows that time runs the same for everyone. During the chiming, oh yes, and the fourth statue on the far right, there's a man playing a mandolin. So it's lust for life, someone who wants to party today, doesn't care what happens tomorrow. Okay, so basically someone like me. Yeah, so lust for life. So during the chiming, the vices will be shaking their head. They will be going, no, 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 we don't want to die. The skeleton, as the only one, will be nodding, saying, yes, it's your time, and it will be also ringing the bell. Okay, and there's a message being passed and that message is memento mori. In Latin, it means remember death. To remind the people that we are mortal, and one day our life here on earth will end, and that we should live a life in a way that when the life finishes, that we go up to heaven, not to hell. Okay, so there's a moral message behind it. Also during the chiming, the two blue windows, they will open. Behind them there will be 6 and 6, 12 together, apostles appearing in the window. At the end of the chiming, that lasts something like 15-16 seconds, the rooster at the top will make a stupid sound to symbolically wake up the new hour to life. Okay, so there's a lot of symbols connected with the clock, and this clock also appears on the short list of the most disappointing sights in the world. Okay, yeah. Number one most disappointing sight is the statue of the Little Mermaid in Copenhagen. It's so small, people travel a long way and they see this small statue and they're disappointed. So. Number two is the painting of Mona Lisa in the Louvre. It kept getting stolen, so they kept cutting it out of the frame. Now it's behind bulletproof glass, so nobody's going to steal it. But for many, it's disappointing that it's so small. Yeah. Number three, this clock here. I don't think it deserves to be on that list.
It's much bigger than the other two.
It is, and 80% of the mechanism is still original. Of course, gone through.
Would it be disappointing?
Well, some people expect there will be laser shows, flat screens, belly dancers, and nothing like that appears here.
Like Vegas.
What Vegas?
No Vegas. No Vegas,
What
but
about the figures on the bottom?
there's a scholar, there is the archangel, so they're also kind of symbols, but they don't move.
Okay.
They're static, so it's the upper statues that move, and of course the dials show the different times and positions of the sun and moon. They did make a mistake. They believe that the Earth is in the center of the universe. That's why the globe is in the middle, and even that the sun. They believe that the sun revolves around the Earth. So it's a kind of small, minor mistake. But come on, it's the beginning of the 1400s. Let's give them a break.
At least they made the Earth round instead of flat.
Yes. So
That's
that was progress. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So I wanted to show you the clock. If you're going to be here on the hour between 9 a.m. and 9 p.m., you can see the chiming, but I have described it. I wanted to point out the beautiful building here. Notice the amazing the fresco on the facade, the decoration. It was created by a local artist. He lived at the end of the 1800s. His name was Mikuláš Aleš. That's not important, but he would be working with stencils. In his studio, he would create stencils for the drawings, and they would take the stencils and his assistant here to the square, and he would send the assistant to redraw the stencils on the facade, and the artist would be sitting here and drinking a beer and watching the artist, watching the assistant, and he would say, "I'm an artist. I'm not a spider to climb on a wall." So I kind of like his approach, and but he was an amazing talent, beautifully decorated. The name B.J. Roth is the name of the person who used to own the building many years ago, and I remember still during the communist times that here on the bottom floor and the upper floor there was a hardware store. So if you needed some nails, screws, bolts, nuts, you would come here to buy them. So it's no longer a hardware store because this is one of the most expensive spaces you can imagine, but it's still hard. It's Hard Rock Cafe. Yeah. I'm making a stop here in front of the statue of Charles IV, our most famous king. Charles IV, he was not only the Czech king, but he was also the emperor of the Holy Roman Empire, which was the second rank under the Pope, and he was ruling to a large part of Europe. Charles IV, he had 4 wives. Not at the same time, okay? He was not from Utah, so he got married for the first time at the age of 7.
A what?
At the age of 7, he got married for the first time.
How old was his wife?
Yeah.
She was, I think, 1 year older, so they were pretty much the same age. The marriages we're speaking about the 1300s. The marriages typically were set up by the parents to form alliances with the potential enemies or to expand the scope of the kingdom and so on. So the marriages were arranged, and so it was not exactly about love. The role of the queens was to give the king a son so that the dynasty can continue. So at first they did not live together, they just got married. Charles IV, already at the age of 3, he sent to France to start learning good manners. Later in France he studies theology. His teacher was a priest who later becomes the Pope. So Charles IV had a very close friend and a teacher who was the most powerful person in Europe, and he helped him become the emperor of the Holy Roman Empire. I mentioned that he had 4 wives, so he married the wives one by one. They were not killed. The wives died due to diseases or when giving birth. The last wife, the 4th one, outlives Charles IV. He dies in the year 1378 at the age of 62, which for the 1300s was a fairly high age. He is buried along with his all 4 wives under the cathedral in a crypt under the cathedral on top of the hill. They analyzed his bones and they were able to determine what was the cause of his death. He suffered from gout. They kept feeding him meat because they believed they're giving him the best they can, but they were also slowly killing him. He broke his hip bone and he suffered from pneumonia. So those were the 3 causes of his death, yet he lived until the age of 62. The person who takes over was his son, and Wenceslas IV. And if we have a look at the tower, we can see the bridge on far left, bottom far left. We can see the statue of Charles IV, and on the far right we can see the statue of his son. Charles IV, he was educated, he studied theology, he was educated, he was also a diplomat. He would not go into wars unless it was necessary. He established the Charles University in 1348, established the new town. He initiated the construction of the Charles Bridge. So until today, there are a lot of sites connected with his power. His son, Wenceslas IV, he was the very opposite of the father. So he's considered as the most known drunk in the Czech history. So I should not be saying this, but he at first tries to keep things in a political balance. It was a time where there was a lot of tension between the Protestants and the Catholics. And so he tried to keep things balanced, but then things get out of control, and there are wars that continue. So we can see their statues. We can also see Charles IV here, and under him we can see 4 female statues. Those are not the wives, as even many locals think they are. There are statues of the allegories of the 4 faculties of the university he established. The faculties were philosophy, theology, medicine, and philosophy and theology, medicine. I'm missing
Theology.
Yes. So 4 faculties. Yeah. law, medicine, philosophy, and theology. That's it. Now I got it right. Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna do something that this wall has been here since the 1300s, and you got to get down here, and you got to touch the very bottom. The very bottom. Touch that history. I don't know what that says, but wow, look at that. Medieval. This is a medieval wall. Bridge. Hopefully it's safe when we cross over it. But look at this. Now up there, you can't see it, but up there in the fog is the castle. We're gonna go there tomorrow. Oh, by the way, we're in Prague. I didn't do the transition, but we're in Prague. We're taking a little tour, and now we're getting ready to go stop at a cafe, get something to eat, rest our feet, get warmed up a little bit. But yeah, we are in Prague. So we're walking over the bridge, this medieval bridge. There are a lot of people, and we asked our guide if this is just because of the Christmas markets, and he said no, it's always this busy. Prague is a beautiful town full of lots of history, and a lot of people want to be here to experience it. And just being here during the Christmas markets just make it that much more special. But it's cold. This has been the coldest day of our trip. But it's nice having a guide that is local, because as we're walking by a lot of these places, he's saying, don't buy souvenirs in here, don't eat don't eat in this area. It's a tourist trap, as you heard him say at points during our tour. So it's nice being with someone that is local, that can give us tips. So that's the other benefit of group travel. You can see a lot of artisans selling things, selling their art, selling their wares, taking advantage of all the tourists, not taking advantage as in bad, but taking advantage of there being a lot of tourists here to buy their art. I hear a tuba. I hear a tuba or something. Oh, I do hear a tuba.
Perfect. So we're on the Charles Bridge. It's the oldest bridge in Prague, not the oldest in the country. There's a older bridge by about 100 years in a small town south of Prague. This bridge is the oldest here in Prague. It bears the name of Charles IV. He was not a saint, so it's not the St. Charles Bridge, it's the Charles Bridge. When it was built, it was the only bridge in Prague, so it didn't even have a name. So if people wanted to meet at the bridge, they'd say, let's meet at the bridge, and you could not make a mistake because there was just one. Today we have 20 bridges here in Prague, each has a name for orientation. The year when the bridge started to be built was 1357, 9th of July, 5 o'clock in the morning, 31 minutes. Charles IV, he was God devoted, he was also superstitious. So whenever he was making an important decision, he would consult the astrologers. The astrologers would determine when to go into a battle, when to start building a bridge. They determined the magical date being 1357, 9th of July, 5 o'clock in the morning, 31 minutes. You have 9 odd numbers. It's also a palindrome. Either way you read it, from left to right, it's the same. It's considered as a magical number. But to be very honest, the part 5 o'clock, 31 minutes, it was made up by some tour guide here in Prague to make it sound more interesting. People simply were not able to measure time that accurately in the 1300s. But the date 1357, 9th of July, that is accurate. It took 50 years to finish the bridge. Charles IV does not live long enough to see it finished. It was his baby. He does not live long enough to see it finished. John, in the foreground we can see the dog symbolizing loyalty. It can be loyalty of the queen to the king. It can be loyalty of John to the queen, not revealing any secrets. And here on the right we can see the dead body being thrown into the river. People touch the dog for good luck. That's why it's shiny. It can mean that you will be loyal, maybe loyal to your wife or your husband. You may be loyal coming back to Prague. There's also a story saying that women touching the dog will become pregnant. There's also a story said that these stupid legends are made up by two guys to make it sound more interesting. So it always depends what you want to believe in. And believing it will bring them good luck. I am, by the way, still waiting for my Maserati. It might be in the pipeline, but I cannot promise it will work, but we can always
Touch the dog.
Oh, that'll help.
The dog.
That was you. Now you're going to get pregnant. Can't happen.
You'll be loyal. Whatever's been up so fine, everyone, and warm up a little bit.
Oh, look at that.
So, ladies and gentlemen, come on in where it's nice and warm, and this will be a big surprise for you. You had a chance to taste the Becherovka, the national drink that some of you tasted already in Karlovy. So I will just repeat that it is originally created as a medicine. Yes,
We're
so
feeling awfully
whether it's
sick.
having
We need some medicine.
healthier after drinking it. And so who would like to try George's
We grab two.
a sampling glass and medicinal purposes.
Cheers.
Wait.
What's
Nazdraví. Nazdraví is cheers. Nazdraví is cheers, Czech. And also a few words about George. George is a good friend of mine.
Boring story.
He's a good friend of mine who I know from the times when George was still working as a tour guide. I still remain working as a tour guide. George then had taken a different career path because he found the artistic skills in himself.
Oh, no.
I remain with stick people. George had taken it several levels higher. And what George creates are these wonderful, cheerful paintings. And he had created one.
Yeah. You're over here, that's the one on the right hand side.
So over
On the
here,
right.
George claims he had put me on the person. So
Where are you?
I am over here.
Is he by the bar?
With the
It's
bag.
a famous painting. This is a famous painting. This is just a print of it. That's this one.
And the original one is in the bar that I was recommending to have.
Oh!
and it's hanging there. So the regulars coming there, they had financially contributed and commissioned George to create a painting. So every person in the painting is actually an existing person.
lovely.
They're the regulars. George is over. Where are you, George?
I'm really down in the middle.
Oh yeah, George is down.
Oh, painting. Painting in the painting.
Okay.
So you
Yeah, well,
There's a story behind everyone.
Oh, there he is. There's Martin right
they're
there.
really
There's
proud of
Martin.
it because let's get a drink. Okay, na zdraví. You should it after the show 10 years younger.
Yes.
Wrinkles go away.
Yeah.
It's gone.
Woo!
Oh, that's
Not bad though.
That goes down easy though.
It does.
It really does.
Here's that way you take more clothes. When I saw it, I felt more cinnamon.
one more
Yeah.
round for somebody.
George, are these like, do you do watercolors? Is that what?
Missy, give me another one.
Acrylics or?
I do large
want another one?
scale canvases.
Yeah.
And actually everything what I paint large. This is an ink print on a watercolor paper. So if you touch it on the raster. So
I want you to
and,
point to yourself. I want you to point to you while I take your picture.
Mark right here.
They're
There's
yeah, anybody follows NHL Isaki?
Yes.
Anybody? Because I painted.
Oilers.
We have two Canadians.
I painted for a really famous Czech Canadian NHL hockey player. He's also the same painting as Martin. His name is Peter Nedved.
Oh, okay,
And
yeah.
he commissioned me after. There is a one guy sitting on a
I might
chair
want to get
with a
one of
white
George's
shirt.
prints.
And he commissioned me afterwards. He saw himself being painted. He commissioned me only one for him. That's a print of it. This is the same. This is the same kind of corner from a different angle, with Peter Nedved sitting and his brother. I have photos. I have photos with it. So
That's cool.
that's the guy. That's my shop here.
Mystic.
Peter. And I'm gonna bring Peter's photograph. I'm famous now because of painting.
Well, first day in Prague. Sorry I wasn't able to give you like the little bit of a transition, but we just got done having dinner here at this restaurant. It was lovely. I had a potato gnocchi with sheep cheese, which I was a little worried at first because I don't like goat cheese. And so I asked our guide, is this like goat cheese? And he said, no, you will like this. And it was amazing. It was so filling. That is the thing that I've discovered, is that the food here is amazing and it's so filling and it's so good. And you could just kind of feel that it's just prepared with the culture and with the love of the people. So it's lovely. Tomorrow we're going to be having another fun-filled day. We're going to go to a flea market in the morning. We don't really quite know what to expect, but it's an outdoor flea market that we're going to experience here in Prague, which is a little nerve-wracking because I don't have a lot of space left in my suitcase. But and then we will be going on a Pilsner brewery tour, and then we will be going to the Prague Castle. And we will be going to the Christmas markets. Mark and I are staying here an extra night after the tour is over, so we're going to be checking out the Christmas markets and getting some food and experiencing that as well. But thank you guys so much for being with us today. I know it was a little bit of a history tour today, but I wanted to include that as part of the vlog, just so you could feel like you were here with us and seeing the sights and the sounds of this beautiful, beautiful town, the beautiful people, and the beautiful country that this is. So I hope that you enjoyed the tour today. Don't forget, if you want to go on a tour with us again, we're going to Greece in the last week of May. I will pin the link to the Greece trip if you are interested in going. We'd love to have you come along and join us on another amazing adventure. And again, like I said in the last video, you gotta travel. Get out there and see the world. What are you waiting on? And then the best part of it is to go on it with a group so you can experience it together and have the stories that you can reminisce later on. So thank you guys so much for joining us on the trip today, and I will see you in the next one. Bye guys. Say bye everybody. Bye. Are you guys ready for a trip of a lifetime? Mark and I are going to be going to Greece this year. This is the next trip that we are doing with Trova Trip. We are going on a 7-day trip to the island of Crete. We want you to join us because together we're going to step back into history and we're going to visit some ancient Minoan ruins. We're going to feel the thrill of a Jeep safari and swim in the crystal clear Aegean Sea. We're going to wander through Chana and the charming streets, and we're going to discover the beauty of the Agropoli waterfall, and we're going to soak in some sunshine and culture at every single turn. This is more than just a trip though. This is a gift that you can give to yourself. It's a gift of group travel, which honestly has changed our whole philosophy and outlook on travel. We love being able to travel with a group of like-minded people. Now is your chance to travel along with us, see other parts of the world that you never thought you'd be able to see, and do it in the safety of group travel, in the safety of numbers, with our tour guide that is with us every step of the way. It's almost like traveling with your own personal concierge. Booking is now open, and I only have 8 early bird spots available. So if you are thinking about going, go ahead and reserve your spot today. You can make payment plans if that's something that's going to be a little bit more comfortable for you. Book today to reserve your early bird spot and explore Greece with us. So who else is saying yes to Greece this year?